The year was 1944. The sky above France was painted in gray and fire. Dozens of Allied bombers roared toward their targets. Steel birds, slicing through clouds thick with smoke and death. Among them flew Captain William Harris, a 28-year-old pilot of the B-17, Silver Wing. He had flown 42 missions and survived all of them. His men trusted him with their lives because Harris never left anyone behind. That morning before takeoff, Harris had written a short letter to his fiancée back in England. "One last flight," he wrote. "Then I'll be home." He folded it neatly and tucked it inside his jacket. None of them knew that by sunset the sky would turn red with fire. As the formation crossed the Rhine, radio chatter filled the cockpit, voices calm but tense. Eagle 2 to Silver Wing, flak ahead. "Stay tight." "Copy that," Harris replied. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Briggs, checked the instruments. Everything green. But war changes color fast. Moments later, the first burst hit. Black clouds of flak tore open the sky. The bombers shook violently, metal groaning under pressure. One B-17 exploded in midair, a fiery blossom of smoke and shrapnel. Harris watched pieces of it fall past his window. "God help them," he muttered. Then a second shell struck, this time Silver Wing itself. The cockpit filled with smoke. Warning lights flashed. The right engine was on fire. Harris and Briggs fought the controls as the plane began to spin. Oxygen masks dropped. The intercom crackled. The rear gunner screaming that the tail was gone. "Bail out!"
"Everyone out!"
Harris ordered. The crew scrambled. Flames crept up the wings, turning the aircraft into a coffin of fire. Harris waited until the last man jumped. Then, choking on smoke, he grabbed his parachute and leapt into the sky. The moment his feet left the floor, the bomber exploded behind him. A blinding flash that swallowed everything. For a few seconds, he was falling through fire, pieces of burning metal drifting past him. His parachute deployed, snapping open just above the clouds. Below him, the French countryside burned. The night was lit by tracer rounds and distant explosions. When he landed, he hit hard, rolling across a muddy field. His ankle twisted. Pain shot through his leg. He tore off the chute, crawled to a ditch, and lay still. Above him, the war still roared, a storm made of steel. By dawn, the battlefield was silent. Harris was alone, deep behind enemy lines. His radio was destroyed, his food gone, but his compass still worked. He headed west toward the Allied front, moving only at night and hiding by day. The forests were haunted by the sounds of engines, barking dogs and gunfire echoing through fog. Every shadow was an enemy. On the third night, exhausted and half-starved, Harris saw a faint light, a farmhouse hidden in the trees. He limped closer, ready to fight or surrender. But when the door opened, it wasn't a soldier. It was a woman. Her name was Anya, a local nurse who had once worked for the Red Cross before the Germans burned her town. She took one look at him, the torn uniform, the bleeding leg, and said softly, "You shouldn't be here." She cleaned his wounds, gave him water, and hid him in the cellar beneath the house. For days he stayed there, listening to German soldiers marching outside. Each night Anya brought him bread, soup, and sometimes stories. She told him how she'd lost her brother in an air raid. Harris told her about his crew, the men who'd jumped with him, the ones who never made it. A strange silence grew between them, not fear, but understanding. War had taken everything from both of them. Yet in that small cellar they found a fragment of peace. One night Harris heard a distant rumble. The engines of war were moving closer each hour. Tanks, artillery, trucks. The ground trembled. Then came something worse, the low hum of bomber aircraft overhead. He recognized the sound instantly, his own squadron. He ran outside, looking at the sky. No, not here, he whispered. The planes were dropping bombs on the valley, clearing German supply lines. But the farmhouse was right in the blast zone. He realized his crew thought he was dead. He told Anya he had to go, to reach the Allied lines before the bombs reached them. She refused. "You won't make it," she said, tears in her eyes. "They will shoot you before you see the sun rise." But Harris had already made up his mind. Before dawn, Anya gave him her brother's old coat, a small compass, and whispered, "Fly again, not in the sky, but in your heart." That night, under heavy rain, Harris slipped into the forest. The darkness was alive. Flashlights cutting through fog. German patrols shouting, dogs barking. He moved slowly, every step measured, every breath controlled. Once a patrol passed so close he could see their boots. He lay still in the mud for hours, not daring to breathe. As the rain turned to mist, he reached a river, the border between life and death. Behind him, shouting. They had seen him. Bullets tore through the trees, splashing water beside him. He jumped into the icy current, the shock freezing his lungs. For what felt like an eternity, he fought the current. His arms burned, his vision blurred. Then a silence. He crawled out on the far bank, barely conscious, gasping for air. When he woke, the world was quiet. A faint sound of trucks, Allied trucks. He staggered toward the noise, waving his torn jacket. Soldiers rushed to him, shouting, "We've got one alive!" Captain William Harris had made it home. Weeks passed. He recovered in a London hospital. The war ended soon after. His story spread among his comrades, the pilot who fell from the sky and lived. But Harris wasn't at peace. He returned to France, determined to find the farmhouse and Anya. What he found instead broke him. The entire valley was gone. The farmhouse was nothing but ashes and rubble. Locals said it had been destroyed. In the final bombing raid, just days after he escaped, no one ever found her body. But Harris refused to believe she died. He said she wasn't the kind of soul that vanished. She was the kind that lingered, quietly, like the sound of wings. For years he carried that belief. Every year on the anniversary of the crash, he sent a single white flower to the ruins where her home once stood. No message, no name, just a tribute. Then in 1972, during a veterans reunion, Harris received a letter. No return address, no signature, only 6 words written in faded ink. Some souls never fall. They fly forever. He stared at the letter for a long time. His hands trembled, his eyes filled with tears. He looked up at the evening sky. Clouds glowing orange under the sunset, the same color as the day his plane fell. He whispered, "Thank you, Anya." And from that day on, whenever thunder rolled across the sky, he'd look up, smile softly, and say, "It's just the engines coming home."